Hello and welcome to Simply Chef Renee. We are continuing our series of healthy eating, that is health and wellness. And today we are focusing on loneliness and depression. We are providing foods that aid in increasing our serotonin levels. And our serotonin are our happy hormones in the body. And who doesn't want to be happy? All right. So we want those serotonin levels and our endorphins all to be active so that we can combat these things and we can not fall into emotional eating, but we are going to eat smart. All right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to eat smart. So we'll continue this even after this world COVID-19 pandemic. Okay? What we have today that we're going to prepare are our leafy green vegetables. We're also going to incorporate those other things we've been talking about on our Lunch and Learn on Wednesdays. And that is we are going to include, We're going to include our onions. Remember the onions, scallions, ginger, they all have properties that actually help defend the body and protect it from foreign items that enter into the bodies like viruses and different diseases. So we want to make sure we include that. I'm going to dump those onions into the pan right now. You see my pan is really hot. So I'm going to just whirl it around a little bit. I'm going to whirl it. There we go. So we're going to add the onions to that super hot pan. I'm going to let it cool for just a little bit. We're going to add our onions. We also have some garlic to add to it. And we have also some really thinly sliced celery that we're going to add to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a dish. It is a broccoli rabe dish. This is the broccoli rabe in front of me, right? The broccoli rabe, let me pull one stem up. See, and it has the greens on it, the green leaves. We're going to cook it all also with the stems on there. And it is a little bitter, but we're going to sweeten it up with some turnip. So I've cut the turnip up, just diced them into little small chunks. And then the turnips are sweet on their own, but also to bump up that flavor and help mellow the bitterness of the broccoli rabe, I actually blanched the turnips in a chicken broth that I have over here on the right that is also warming. I am keeping that hot because I'm going to blanch everything before I add it over into the pan. And the reason I'm doing that is quick cooking. Remember, the foods closest to their natural state are when we maximize our intake of nutrients. And with what we have today, we got collard greens. We're going to saute with some sun-dried tomatoes. And remember, lean red meat, that we also need that. We need that for a number of reasons. We need it for as our protein intake so that our iron levels increase. Our iron levels increase, we're able to function better. We're not as sleepy and we don't feel the sadness of being isolated. All right? So it helps us in that. So now that my pan has cooled down a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add the onions. Let me just make sure I got them all out. So we got our onions in there. We're going to add the celery. And remember, celery has a lot of healthy components to it. We're going to add the turnip that I've diced and I've blanched. All right. And then I'm going to put the garlic on top. You know why I'm putting the garlic on top? Good question. All right. I'm putting the garlic on top because garlic cooks very quickly and it can easily burn and we don't want it to burn. So I'm just going to stir that up. And remember, we've got our little oil in the pan. I'm going to show you what we want the turnips and celery mixture to look like. So we're going to let that cook. And I'm going to add anise seeds. A-N-I-S-E, anise. Anise has a licorice smell, fennel. So we are using the seeds. And you can use fresh fennel here, and it will do the same thing that I'm going to do here. It gives this entire dish such a nice taste and flavor. It's delicious. Trust me on that. I would love for the turnips to have some charcoal on it. So I'm going to let it cook for a while. And while it's doing that, because we have some extra to add to it, I want to show you something. Let me show you what I have here and what we're going for. And I did this so you could see. Look at that. This is the turnips. Delicious. This is the turnip with the celery and with the anise seeds on it. And that's what we're looking for. Now, you can get that color from roasting or just from leaving it here on the stove for a bit. That was really good. Let's stir this up. A very nice flavor profile and combination. You got your sweet, you got your savory, you got everything going on in there. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. A little bit of salt. And I'm going to add some pepper. There we are. All right, and this really does smell delicious. There we go. I'm going to just brush off. There we go. I'm using a rubber spatula to brush a rubber spatula. Okay. All right, so we got that going on. And while that's happening, I'm going to remove the lid to the chicken broth, and I'm going to put in our broccoli rabe. I'm keeping stems and all. They are all edible and delicious. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to bump up the heat just a little. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to let that just blanch for a while. What I'm doing is I'm adding flavor to the broccoli rabe, and I'm using vegetable stock. You can use vegetable stock, you can use chicken stock, you can use whatever flavor you are looking for. So you definitely want to go ahead and add that. We are going to start our virtual cooking classes. That's right, Simply Chef Renee has gone virtual. Woo, 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 woo. So we are starting our virtual classes. There should be a link somewhere in this film where you can click on and be added to our list. So look for that link to get on our mailing list. You have to opt in. We don't want to be one of those spam people that just sends out a bunch of emails. So we want your permission to do that. All right, let's take a look at our broccoli rabe and see how it's doing. Let me push that down so we can get all of it. And we're going to add it directly into the pan. Let's see. See some of it? Look at that. We just want to get it. You know what? Let me use this. We're just going to push down, push down. Yep. So I've added some flavor. Now I'm going to put some in here. Let me turn that around. We're just going to add some of this into the pan. So we're going to get that, ooh, that smells good. Going to get that big sizzle. And this is great And it's also going to turn this beautiful, vibrant green. Now, I'll tell you, we've made this a few times. Woo! One tried to get away. In my home, and we loved it. And I tell you this, my family was really pleasantly surprised, because when we're out and we've had broccoli rabe, they just haven't seemed to be able, not too hot, they haven't seemed to be able to get rid of that bitter taste. But through experimentation, I have been able to take away some of that bitterness and get this nice flavor with all of these combinations of things added. So I think it works well together. In addition, I do research not only for nutritional content, so that I can bring that to you, but I also do it learning new flavor profiles, right? And I saw something that I liked, and I said, you know what? I'm going to incorporate some of that into this recipe I have that I want to do. Now, to that, for another green, leafy green punch, we're going to add kale. Now, we're getting all kinds of vitamins. We're getting folate, selenium. We're getting a couple of the vitamin Bs. We are getting, we're getting our vitamin C. We are getting lots of vitamins in this dish. And you could eat this over pasta. You could eat this over rice. I would recommend brown if that's what you're going to do. You could eat this by itself. This is a very healthy, nutritious, delicious dish for us. And because we aren't cooking everything all the way down, we are maximizing our intake of the vitamins, okay? Oh, this smells so good and looks so delicious. I'm going to let that cook for just a few more moments. All right, this looks so good. All right. Okay, let's get this out. Now, I'm just going to use that same dish that my kale was in. Look at that. And you want to leave this whole, and you can eat stems and all, remember? Look at this. Just fabulous. You know what? I'm going to have to put this down so I can scoop. Let me put this down. This smells so good. I just want to get everything out. Here we are. Look at that. That is just fabulous. Fabulous. There we are. This looks so delicious. I'm going to leave it right here. Oh, that smells so good. You're really going to love this dish. It's just fantastic and loaded with all kinds of nutrients. Now, so we can move to our next dish. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil. And let me tell you what's in this oil. This is also extra virgin olive oil. This, you can smell it. It's garlic infused. So I'm just going to do just a tab of that. But it's garlic infused olive oil. I typically cook everything in garlic infused olive oil. Number one, for garlic's healthy components. And remember, I told you about garlic in the onion family. So I infuse it into my extra virgin olive oil, and I use it in cooking. That way I'm always getting some nutrients and vitamins. Now, I'm going to add what I just added was the sun-dried tomatoes. Now, the sun-dried tomatoes on their own pack a punch. When they are sun-dried like this, because you are able to use fresh tomatoes with the sauteed collard greens, which we're going to add to this, you are able to use fresh tomatoes, but these pack a punch, and they have everything in them. If you're going to use fresh, take the seeds out so it doesn't make things too soggy. But here, it's concentrated, meaning everything has been concentrated and dried into it. So when you get a bite, you're getting everything. You're not losing any of the nutrients or vitamins for that. So while those are sauteing up a little bit, because I want them to saute up a little bit, I'm going to take the collards, and here are collard greens. And look, I've shredded them. That's called chiffonade. And I'll tell you how to do that once I get them into this vegetable broth. All right, let me just dump. Pardon my shoulder. There we go. So we've got those in. I'm just going to press down. And all I'm doing is just blanching these. I'm blanching them so that I'm flavoring them and I'm getting them started with the cooking process. That way it doesn't take so long. Let me put the lid back on. What did I do? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I can handle that. All right, and we'll just adjust that a little bit more. All right, and let me move these around because they are cooking up in here. You know what I'm going to also do? I'm going to add a little bit of this broth. There we are. And the reason I've added that broth is, again, just another added layer of flavor. Got some more vegetables going on. And it also plumps these up a little bit. I think that we are ready for our collards. So we're going to have a couple of things going on here. I'm going to use what we call a spider spatula. But you can use a slotted spoon or anything. And we're just going to scoop our greens right in here. Now, you don't have to put the greens into a broth. You don't. You can take them, put them directly into the pan. Ooh, I lost one there. There we go. But I do it for the extra flavor, okay? All righty. So we want to be sure that that's what we're doing. Let's add these right in there. All righty, look at that. Fabulous. And doesn't that spider spatula make things easy? Yep. There we go. And I just have a little more. I'm getting everything out of here. All right, so look, this is just cooking so nicely. Look at how green and beautiful. That's just gorgeous. All I'm going to do is sprinkle a little salt and a little pepper. You don't want to overdo it with the salt on this because of the sun-dried tomatoes. But this is just gorgeous, gorgeous green. All right, and we are done with that salt. Now remember, we got some lean steak going to go on after this. So I will show you that as well. But these are looking, oh, they smell so good. And I know collard greens typically take a very long time to cook. But when you blanch them in a what I'm calling a poaching liquid, when you blanch them in there and then you saute them, we are going to maximize our nutrient intake. They're going to be a little bit chewy, but they're also going to be pliable and soft, that not as tough as when you, of course, get them out of the store and you just straight put them into the pan to saute them. Because we put them in that poaching liquid, it actually softened them up. And look at me losing them. That is really good. It has already picked up the flavors of the sun-dried tomatoes, which is what we want. So, let's get our... Very good. So, let's just stir that up a little bit more. Here we go. Woohoo! Oh, Thank you. Look at there. That is good. I appreciate that. Thank you all so much. I appreciate that. You know what? Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it right there for now. Hey, I'm in my kitchen. I can do that. All right, so here we go. There we are. We're going to take all of this out. That was really good. All right, so we have all of our greens out. We have all of these nutrient-filled dishes right here. Look at there. Right there. Oh, let me move that. Look at this. This is fabulous. This is the collard greens with the sun-dried tomatoes, just loaded with vitamins and nutrients. And we have our broccoli rabe with our turnips, with onions, garlic, and we have the anise seeds. That is fabulous. Now, the last thing we have to do is the steak. And here's what I want to tell you about the steak. All right? I'm just gathering stuff. Here's what I want to tell you about the steak. The steak we're using is a flank steak. It's very economical, very quick and easy to cook, and I'm going to show you how quick and easy. Let me do this way so you can see. Here is the steak. What you want to do when you have steak, or really any meat, season it, wrap it in the fridge, and let it sit there either for at least an hour or so, and then you can perhaps you'll take it out and then you'll cook it. But here's what's important with flank steak is you want to help tenderize it. Even though you're going to cut it thinly and you're going to cut against the grain, what do we mean when we say against the grain? So flank steak, the lines run this way, right? So when we cut it, we're not going to cut it this way. We're going to cut it this way, right? So we're going to cut against the grain, which means that you now have a more tender piece of the meat that's available to you, or that you're going to consume, which is very, very good. And that's what we wanted. That's important. Also, we took a fork and we just put holes in it. That helps tenderize it. Flip it over. And then you season it, wrap it up, put it in the refrigerator for, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour minimum, or you can do it overnight. All right? That's what we want to do. So now we're just going to sear it in the pan. All right, let's do this. The pan is hot, and that's what you want. You want to make sure that your pan is super hot. I typically use a cast iron skillet, but I'm doing everything in a one skillet. There we are. So that's going to sear. I'm going to move this dirty plate over here. I got a bunch of dirty things for you all. And here's my feeling funky girl cup. All right. I love it. Love it. Love it. All right. And this is all seasoned. So I'm going to let that cook and really sear on the bottom. Then I'm flipping it over. And then it goes into the oven to finish. Literally, it's only going to cook maybe about 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. I'm going to flip it over and it goes into the oven. Okay. But since we don't have as much time as I just told you, I'm going to show you because we have some already done, okay? So I'm going to move this so we're not using this and let that cook. All right, so here is the steak already done. Now, another important thing is any meat, it doesn't matter what it is, when you take it out of the oven or off the stove, you want it to rest for at a minimum 10 minutes. 10 minutes rest. That means cover it up with aluminum foil, leaving room like a puff on the top, and let the meat just rest. What's happening when you allow it to rest is all of the juices and flavors are being infused, and it's going to make the meat tastes delicious. Now, I'm going to show you what we have here. Here is a finished flank steak, and I've cut a couple of slices. Let me see if you can see that. Let me look. Look. Here. That's when we cut against the grain, okay? Very nice, very thin. Look at all of the juices. All of those juices on that plate. So I'm going to make a plate for you. First, let me turn this over. Look at there. Nice and seared. Just beautiful. All right? And it's going to go into the oven. But let me make us a plate. Don't we? We want to see a plate. All right, let's do that. Here is my plate here. I'm going to grab a couple of steak pieces off of it. There we are. I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to let you see what we do. And I'm going to take, let's do something around here. I'm going to take a little bit of the greens with the sun-dried tomatoes. Delicious, delicious, nutritious. Let's turn that off because it goes into the oven. Oh, look at there. Look at my broccoli rabe and my turnips. Woohoo! Woohoo! I'm so greedy. Look at my plate. It is enormous. But it's all good. It's all good and it's all healthy. All right, so look at this. We have this wonderful plate of foods. And remember I said I was coming back to this because I'm going to take some of those juices. Look at that. I bet you can taste it now. You can taste it now. Okay. So here we have a nutritious plate. We got our lean red meat. We got we are bumped up on greens. We got our collard greens. We got our broccoli rabe. We got our turnips. We got our onions, our garlic. We got some sun-dried tomatoes. Not only do we have flavor all over the place, we have just a delicious meal all over the place. This is to your health. This is to your health. Hey, I got to put this out here. I will catch you all next time. Take care. Remember to practice social distancing. Give someone a call. You can do virtual house party. Whatever it is, let somebody know that you care. I appreciate you and take care. I will see you next time.